Well, come on, you guys, let's do my Wednesday walkabout. And when I open the door, I just want you to see how incredible it is. And not just because the tulips look beautiful, but because the light has been incredible lately. Simply incredible. I mean, look at that. Look at how the colors pop. And I'm going to be doing in my next newsletter, I'm going to be doing my best tulip tips. I shared a lot of that this weekend when I was talking at the Home and Garden shows both in Indianapolis and in here in Oklahoma City. So I'm going to do a roundup of all of those so you can have them and put them in your garden journal for next year. But the colors that I wasn't happy with originally, oh my goodness, they have changed, and this is what I was going for. And the reason that they please me so much more now is because the yellows have started to come out, and it's the yellows that make them harmonize with the yellow and the blue and the white pansies and violas. Before it just looked like, okay, it didn't make any sense. Like it was just too Disneyland, and it's still a little bit too Disneyland for me, but nevertheless, I think it now is starting to look gorgeous, especially since the salvia, and by the way, you guys have asked me what that is. It's East Friesland, F-R-E-I-S-L-A-N-D, but May night also is wonderful, and it just looks gorgeous. Okay, some things that I want to talk about today. So Stuart, let's come over here, and we're going to kind of shoot this in sections so I don't forget to tell you things as I'm kind of wandering around. I got my cup of coffee, you guys get your cup of coffee. So let's go over here and I'll show you something kind of fun. Now, I don't think I have told you this, but if I did, forgive me, because in my head, I'm always talking to you guys. And I think I shared with you that there were some, in a pot right here, that some pumpkin seeds had germinated from a rotting pumpkin before. Now, we've all experienced that, but it's just so fun, and I use that pot for something else. But here they are right now, just kind of hanging out until I give them to a kid or I decide what to do with them. So there is that. Now, someone told me that they thought these shoots that came up here, which I did not recognize, they said they thought that those might be dahlias because that's where I had dahlias planted. But no, that is not a dahlia. I do not know what it is. And that's my question of the day. What is this plant? If you recognize it, please let me know. It may be something that came from my friend Gail Wynn's last year. I'm not really sure, but please let me know. We will take a still of that so you can research it more. Just look at this boxwood. This is all that better boxwood. And stay tuned because later this week, I'm going to do a whole video on nothing but boxwood, and I'm going to be talking a lot about better boxwood, the blight-resistant boxwood, and the different varieties and how they can be used, because I've got every variety here, but while they're very similar in appearance, it's their growth habit that distinguishes them. So I'm going to go over that. Okay, I'm a little bit nervous. If you live in the Oklahoma City area and you have been checking your weather forecast, depending on what app you use, there's a possibility tonight and tomorrow night, I believe, of getting down to freezing, getting down to like 32 or 33. I'm not too concerned about it because the ground temperatures are so warm, but what I am going to do with my Eugenia topiaries is, number one, I can do one of two things. I haven't decided yet. I can just lift them up and out of the ground in these pots. One of the benefits of burying the pot instead of the plant, and then I can put them anywhere, even in my living room if I so choose. Or I could get frost cloth, and I could cover them with that. But I'm going to just check. I really don't think it's going to be too much of an issue, because why? Because even if it gets down to freezing, I think it's not going to be freezing for much more than an hour. And I know that because my friend at Jen at Bricks really kind of did a deep dive into that. And if it's not only how cold it gets, but it's for how long it is cold. So there's a tip. Okay, Stuart, I'm going to show you this, because I don't want you to trip over it, but also because it has proven to be a pretty good solution. So, since my umbrella, not all of the time, but periodically was blowing over, I decided that it might give it more stability if I just completely buried the umbrella stand. So there's a tip right there. Bury your umbrella stand, and then I just covered it up with flagstone and the gravel that was already here. So then all I have to do is just put my umbrella, yes, in here. Now I'm getting a new umbrella because the other one, I won't even go into it. It wasn't the umbrella's fault, but something happened and it was operator error, and something got caught up in there in the string that raises and lowers it. And finally, I just couldn't get it to lower, and so I'm going to get a new one. And that's okay, because that kind of stuff happens. So I will be getting that, and I'll have it in time for Easter. But prior to that, it turned out to really be very, very helpful to bury my umbrella stand. So there's a tip for you. Okay, come back around here, because this is one of the things that is absolutely thrilling me. And that is the performance of the Agapanthus. You guys know that last year I planted a lot of Agapanthus from the Southern Living Plant Collection. Now I've got some here, and this is an experiment I'm trying. If it works for my Eugenia, why couldn't it work for my Agapanthus? So there's a new variety out, Ever White Agapanthus. This grows a little bit shorter in stature, but it's still not hardy to my zone. But and it blooms a little bit earlier. But look at that. I just love those blooms. And I've got big, thick buds. So what I am going to try this year is I am just going to dig big holes for the pots, and then I can bring them in the fall before frost, and I can set them into the holes right here. And I'm going to try that. And I think I might have some success. Why? Because Agapanthus actually really likes to be root bound, to bloom more profusely. Now it may be that at the end of the season or next year, whatever, I need to repot it in a bigger pot, but I am going to try that. And I've got 3 pots of this new Ever White Agapanthus. So that's exciting. Ooh, I just spied another bud that I didn't even know was there. I love the fact that this blooms a little bit earlier. Now, what I'm really excited about is my favorite Agapanthus, the Indigo Frost. Again, this is a Southern Living plant. We'll make sure to put the links below. But I wasn't sure whether or not it would come back, despite the fact that it is supposed to be frost hardy and appropriate for my zone. But with a little bit of patience, I just held out hope, and sure enough, I am getting a return of the Indigo Frost. So look here. This just has me giddy. Look at all this coming up. So there's a big clump here. It's also starting to put up shoots around the perimeter. So there's a big clump here, there's a big clump here, and then some other clumps that I was despairing that they may not be coming up. I just waited a little bit longer, because even within your own gardens, you have different microclimates, and I found that some areas will just, the Agapanthus will emerge sooner than other areas, just like in the back in my raised garden beds, how the nasturtiums in one end came up more quickly than in the other. So look over here. This was one I did not think was going to come back, and indeed it is. But it is a little bit further north than the other. So look, it's coming up here from the base. And this is, Indigo Frost is the one, and we'll do a screenshot this plant profile at the end so you guys can know what to order. But this is a beautiful white. It's really tall, which actually I love, and it's tinged in purple, which I love even more. So I've identified several tufts of it here, but I've also identified some on the other side, which is a little bit tardier, but that's okay as long as it comes up. And in fact, right here, as you were bending down, Stuart, look here. This you were smushing it. That one's coming out too. Next to a foxglove, which will be okay, because when the foxglove is done, I will just pull it out, and looky there. So that is very fun. Let's take a break here, and I'm going to show you some other exciting things. And as we go to a commercial, Stuart, look at this. Look at this beautiful Anne. This is one of the sisters' saucer magnolias. A number of you have asked me about it, and it's very, very sweet. Now, I know you guys are going to want to know what blend this is, and largely right now it consists of French Rose Blend. Not French blend, but French Rose Blend, and I think it's absolutely stunning. Now, someone asked me what was my favorite tulip, and that's kind of hard for me to say, but boy, this Dordogne right here, this is absolutely gorgeous, and it's because of its color palette. This one right here. So it's pale pink, and then it's kind of a orange sorbet in the center, and then it's got this wonderful lining to it. I don't know if you can see it. This one you can kind of, can you see? Yeah, it's just spectacular. And then the trick to keeping your display looking good, I think, is to come in here, and any blooms that are not fresh, I just break them off. And then, yes, the foliage remains there and I can pull it out later. But I think it's really beautiful, and this is a way to keep your stand looking fresh at all times, because sometimes if I just see a bare stem, that makes me kind of sad. And it makes me think, oh, tulip season is almost over. Now, I tried, here's an answer to a question I've been asked several times, and here's the answer. A lot of you wanted to know about my experience and the results of my garden risk worth taking when I planted some hollyhock seeds in the alley, and you asked me if they had come up. No, they haven't come up, and I'll tell you why. Because my neighbors behind me are having a bunch of work done, some renovation, and there was a car that just kept parking right there, right up against the fence. So if that little hollyhock tried to emerge, it probably would have been run over. Now, that doesn't mean I can't try it again later, and I might, but that's okay. You know, my grass that I planted, one of my other gardening risks, because the seed was, as it turned out to be, was too old, but I tried to grow an Easter basket of grass, and that didn't work out because the seed was indeed too old. But do I regret it? It was a gardening risk worth taking, and I didn't lose anything by trying. So what am I leading up to? Stuart's going, okay, come on. I am leading up to another gardening risk that I'm going to take, or I'm going to try. It's a gardening experiment. And that is, you have asked me, what do I do with my tulips when they're finished? And historically, I told you that I've just pulled them out and discarded them. And that's because I don't want 800 tulips turning brown and maturing and ripening, so that ripening foliage can feed the bulb for next year. Also, because even as the bulb catalogs will tell you, tulips just don't reliably come back the next year. And even if they do, they won't be nearly as gorgeous as they were that first year. But I'm going to try something. So I planted a number of them in pots. And The reason that I think this might work is because, number one, I can take this pot and put it in a hideaway place where the foliage can mature and brown. But the other reason that tulips don't reliably come back is because they need really, really good drainage and they don't want overwatering. Well, anywhere that I have planted tulips now or in the past, I then plant subsequently something else, or there are perennials in the ground that continue to come up that need to be watered. And what that does is it really puts those tulip bulbs at risk of rotting. But I can control that in pots because I just won't overwater them. I will just kind of leave them alone. I'll tuck them away for the foliage to mature and brown, and I'll just leave them in place, watering them every once in a while. But I'll also give them in late winter and maybe even in the fall of this year, I will give them some bulb boost, some bulb booster food to see if that kind of helps them come back. I don't have anything to lose. It may work, it may not, but if it does, that's the way that I can save a little bit of money and I won't have to repot these planters with tulips of my choice. So you guys might give me your thoughts on that if you have ever done it, if you think my experiment will work, and like I say, it's a gardening risk worth taking. So let's take a little break before we come back. And here we go. From top to bottom is my outfit du jour. My sunglasses are Ray-Bans that I got on Poshmark. I really like this color of blue. My top is a ballet pink lightweight sweater that somebody's taking a photo behind me. There's been a lot of photo takers. But my sweater is from Banana Republic, and these were on sale a number of years ago, and I got them in almost every color because they are just the perfect weight for this time of year when you want something that, well, that is just suitable for spring. My breeches I bought online. I will see if I can find a link to them. They have pockets, and you guys know I'm all about pockets. And then look at my cute HISEA boots. And look at how cute they look. Look at how they coordinate with my tulips, Stuart.
Yeah, they do, actually.
Aren't they cute? These are so, I mean, they are so stylish. And what I love is that, number one, they are stylish, but number two, they are at such a good price point, and they just, I don't know, they're really on trend right now. In fact, Leah got some too, and we'll try to do maybe a her way, my way. I don't know, but I just think they're really, really cute. And I like them, and I love that pop of orange. I think earlier when I was in Indianapolis, you guys did an Easter boot. Leah put some Easter boots together for some little friends of ours, and but now these are my Easter boots. These are my Easter boots from HISEA. Let me see, my earrings I got at Burlington Coat Factory a while ago, I believe. My sweet, sweet, just very thin gold necklace was a gift from Hubs just last year. What am I forgetting? I think that's pretty much it. So there you go. There is my outfit du jour. Now, in one of my previous videos, I said, oh, could this get any more beautiful? And yes, it can. And why I say that is because this area in here, particularly right now at this point in spring, not in the summertime, not for later in the season, but at this point in spring, what this area needs in here is more visual weight to kind of ground this side of the property, and it needs more height. And I think somebody pointed that out too. Now, eventually, I'm going to have height from these butterfly candy buddleia that are here, and they will get pretty tall. They will get very tall.
Last year they did, yeah.
They did. I had some height from this, but I believe, and I don't even remember what it was, I'd have to check back to my notes. I bought it at Bustani, and it was one that I was not familiar with. And I tried pruning it up, and I think it succumbed to those 0-degree temperatures. So what I think I'm going to put in here is some kind of large shrub / small tree that will give this height that I can prune up, because you guys know I love to prune things up. up, and it will give me height and visual weight even in the early spring, late winter. And then I'll also get, and this is just, I have to be patient, these boxwoods will also, probably by the end of the season, be almost twice as large as they are, as will this It's a Breeze rose. So Stuart, if you will look at the It's a Breeze rose right here, which, by the way, has buds on it. I'm so excited. This one was planted late last year. I've mentioned this before, but look at the one on the other side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were the same size at planting. This one was just planted like 3 months later. So ultimately, this one will catch up, and then I'll also have some height from this white blooming rose, which I think will be spectacular. And again, I'll get all sorts of height from the buddleia that's over here. Waiting in the wings to come up are all sorts of perennials in here. So I've got some goat's beard here, some pentstemon, Husker's red pentstemon. I've got some tall phlox that is starting to emerge. I have all sorts of things that have gone to seed, all sorts of larkspur. And see all that ferny stuff right there?
Here too, right?
Yeah, and right there, it's in a number of places. That is Minoan lace, which is like a short, tame, more delicate version of Queen Anne's lace. And it has gone to seed rather prolifically, which is fine. But what I have found is that what I will do is edit out. I won't plant anymore, but I'll edit out some of what has emerged so that it doesn't look too crowded. But all sorts of perennials that haven't even begun to appear will start showing themselves down here on autumn's edge. And then always, 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 as I am walking about, I look at things and how things are performing. So one thing I noticed, my biggest concern right now, is this Yopon holly, this one in particular, but probably the others as well, they are showing signs of chlorosis. And chlorosis is an indication that it needs some iron. So I will be applying some iron in the form of ironite or maybe some fertilizer stakes or something to make sure that this foliage is evergreen and really, really deep green. So if you look at this one, see all of that new growth? And yet on this one, there's some new growth, but not as much. Now, am I worried that this is going to die? Absolutely not, but I am observing that it needs to be tended to. So let's take a little break here, and I want to show you my Nellie Stevens on the other side. Now, I also noticed this spring something disturbing, and that was this bank of hollies. It was doing great, and then all of a sudden, it started to drop some leaves. They started to yellow and drop some leaves. Now, that would not normally concern me because that's very common for this time of year, but I have spotting on these leaves, which tells me that there's probably some kind of fungal issue. So I am researching it. Yeah, I have actually already called someone, and they are going to be treating this with a fungicide, and they will be doing that probably this week, weather permitting. Am I concerned? Yes, but are these going to die? No. It is just a matter of treating them. And actually, if they defoliate some, that's not so bad because there will be better air circulation through here in general, and it will kind of open them up. Now, what I am going to do in short order is all of the fungal leaves that have dropped while I am also weeding down here, all of these leaves, I will clean them up. So when it rains again, it won't continue the cycle of splashing those those fungal spores from the ground and these leaves back up onto the plant. So we will treat this and we'll be pretty aggressive about it, but that's why we do our walkabouts, is so that we can identify these kinds of issues in advance. And I'm also thrilled this year, we had a full season of bloom on these, Stuart. You know, they were in bloom, they never froze out, they were gorgeous, and now they're starting to leaf out. So I'll probably be doing some minimal pruning on these so that they have that kind of open cascading feel like they did at my former home, and I will be doing that. So let's take a break and we'll see some other things that are happening. Now, one of the tricks, and I'm gonna do, I don't know, a whole blog post or something on ways when you are a garden maximalist to keep it from looking too cluttered. And I know a lot of you already think it looks too cluttered. That's a matter of, that's a subjective thing. But one thing that disturbs me that I will be addressing this year, last year it was just get things in place for practicality, etc., etc. This year I'm thinking, I have the luxury of thinking a little bit more from a design perspective. And a lot of these stepping stones that look too small when they are exposed before everything fills out and is lush, they are contributing to kind of a cluttered, messy look. So some of these will be put together to mimic one large stone. Some of them will be replaced by larger stones. You can see right here where one of them was taken out that didn't match. That is something that I'll be working on over the next couple of weeks. It's not really that mandatory because once everything fills out, you can't see them. But again, it's what can I do so that it looks better in late winter, very, very early spring before everything fills out. So that is something that I am going to be working on. And I want to show you something over here. I just noticed it this morning, that I've got my first blooms on this salvia, and I'll have to check back because I can't remember what variety it was. I was salvia crazed last year because it performed so well. And this has this pretty kind of lilac purpley pink. It may be that I relocate this somewhere else. There's another huge tuft of it right there. To really optimize its beauty, I can move it to some place where it won't be so cramped. I fully expected that to be the case when I planted things last year. Look at all, I say look, Stuart probably doesn't know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
but look at all the foxglove in here.
Oh, I actually know foxglove.
Yeah, look at all of this foxglove. Some of it, it's different varieties. Some of it is huge. Some of it is smaller.
And some of these are just the little ones you put little tiny pieces in.
Yeah, little pieces in, and they will come back, and I'll have this whole drift of gorgeous foxglove, which, by the way, it's digitalis, the same thing as the heart medicine. It is poisonous, though I have never seen any animal just chewing down on it. But that is something to be mindful of. And then as it drifts into Lemon Lane, I think it'll be spectacular. Hello, kitty.
Love to hear 'em.
Hello, kitty. Meow to you too. Don't go in my front door. Hey, Leah, shut the front door so Miss Kitty doesn't come in. Oh, she did a turnabout. Now the reason, so full disclosure, the reason my front door is open so often is because my 1930 brass handle, locking mechanism and everything, something's wrong with it. And when you shut it, you can't, even if it's not locked, you can't get back inside. So we are taking care of that hopefully this week, but it's an issue because we're an old house. All of these white wedding hydrangeas, it's kind of hard to tell because the foliage between the larks or between the foxglove is very similar, but the white wedding hydrangeas that are this huge drift through here, I anticipate will be incredible this year because they were fabulous last year, and this year they have that much more maturity. So they're incredible, and then they go to fabulous. That's my definition. And I think it'll be really spectacular. This side has the components of height and visual weight that I want. The other side, if you torque around, Stuart, and just go straight on to the east, that's where you'll see that there needs to be a little bit more heft. And rather than doing something just real temporary right now to just plop in there, I'm just going to wait until I find the right thing. I've also considered maybe limbing up a Weigela. I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that. It will really have to be able to handle tough conditions in the summertime. I am looking forward to replanting my window box. I'm so excited about the raised bed vegetable gardens in the back because they are looking stunning. I am almost to completion of the backyard. I want to show you one more thing before we sign off. On Autumn's Edge here, this Fire Chief Arborvitae, oh, I'm so thrilled with it. It really turned fiery red and bronze in the winter. But now look at how it's starting to grow out. It's growing out green. That bronzing is starting to go away and it is turning that beautiful green, and the new growth is just wonderful. It's a pretty drift of the sunshine ligustrum in the back, and then it comes forward, and then the kaleidoscopibilia. So it's a wonderful rhythm and repetition of that gold that's back there and then moves. And then notice, I don't know if you noticed, Stuart, but these I have clipped rather tightly here, but those in the back I'm leaving free form. And who knows, maybe I'll start letting these go free form. I haven't decided that right now. I just like them in a little bit tighter form. But yeah, this trio that I came up with last year, and we should probably do a screenshot on this trio, Stuart, because the kaleidoscopibilia, the orange rocket barberry, and the Fire Chief Arborvitae, this is brilliant. And it's brilliant in the winter, it's certainly brilliant in the fall. And as these get larger but not too large, let me pick up some trash in here, I think it'll really be wonderful. And let me show you one more thing. I keep saying one more thing and then we'll sign off. Okay, here is a boxwood right here. And some boxwood is more prone to this bronzing than others. Now I can get this to revert to green by giving it some food, by fertilizing it, and I feel fairly confident that it ultimately will be green all the way around, and I'll give it a little haircut. There's a matching one, a symmetrical one on the other side. But let me show you why I have faith that I think I can get that one to recover and the bronzing can go away, because this one up here, just off of the social patio, see this segment right here? That had been that same deep bronze, but see how it's starting to go back to green? And to speed that green up along, it's really helpful to fertilize your plants. And I'm just using an organic granular fertilizer to do that. So have I missed anything, Stuart? I've been spending a lot of time in the backyard. I can't tell you how much joy I've had, and I especially feel joyful now because as much as I love meeting all of you at the home and garden shows, it took me away from my beloved garden, and now I am back in it. Hubs and I can sit outside in the evening. So many people have come by, and it is truly my joy. And spring is fleeting. So you guys get out there and enjoy the fleetiness the ethereal nature of spring, because it just doesn't last long.